Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. My name is Chris Stevenson. My guest today is a young lady. She is the granddaughter of the Buffalo Star Empire founder. It's an old black newspaper, and I think they shut down somewhere in the early 60s, 61, 62. The founder, Andrew J. Smitherman. She's also the daughter of John Hemphill, a longtime Buffalo activist. She's been in the news, but most importantly, I view her as one of Buffalo's hardest working activists and community organizers. Her name is Veronica Hemphill-Nichols. And to me, and I say that about community organizers and effective community organizers, a lot of people get that confused. You know, I think most community organizers are publicity hounds to a great extent, but you are kind of like an ever-ready battery.
Ever-ready?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, you just work regardless of whether you're in the news or not. And I think that makes you very effective, but unfortunately, there's not too many here like you know, in the Buffalo area.
That's sad.
Otherwise, we would have some serious changes.
Okay.
You know. So, but how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. You know, a little tired from the activism work,
Right.
as you put it.
Well, I know you wear a lot of hats because I'm
Sure.
trying to get one of your titles down. You're coordinator and trainer of the Restorative Justice
Community Peacemakers.
Community Peacemakers and court liaisons.
Yeah, well, I'm a former court liaison under, I was under Judge Nowak for about 6.5 years.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I still do work with the city on some issues and things
Right.
like that, but I'm not like in the courtroom like I used to be.
Okay. Now, some people might remember you as being a part of CAO also. Or...
Yes, I was with CAO for a few years, doing the restorative justice model. You know.
I mean, you were there with them years ago, and then
Yes.
you went back to them. You left, and I think went back.
I was with them in 2005, but that was under AmeriCorps, and then I came back in 2007 as the coordinator for the restorative justice initiative that I actually brought to CAO.
Okay, all right. Now, tell us about restorative justice. Because before I met you, I didn't really know too much about it.
Well,
who's the brainchild behind that?
Well,
is that really a national?
Well, actually, restorative justice is rooted in indigenous practices, where when something happens in a community, whether it's a crime, whatever kind of offense, the community gets involved in solving the issue, because the principle of it, or the philosophy of it is that if it happens to one person, it happens to everyone. Everyone in that community is affected, whether directly or indirectly. So it's set up where the offender, the victim, and the community members come together in a circle called Peace Circle or / Sentencing Circle, and they decide how to fix the problem, because for communities, whenever there is a crime, it's considered a break in relationship. So they try to mend the relationship through relationship building and dialogue for the purpose of reaching consensus, whether it will be restitution. Forgiveness is a main thrust, the main purpose of it, so that everyone walks away whole again, including the offender, because the whole point is to reintegrate the offender back into that community.
Well, can you reintegrate the offender back in the community at the same time as the victim?
Well, that's the goal, if the victim is willing, you know, to sit with the offender.
How serious of an offense are we talking?
Well, it varies. It varies, you know, depending on, like I said, the nature of the offense. It goes anywhere from a misdemeanor, like I broke a window, to actually murder.
Well, is that an alternative to incarceration?
It's an alternative to our traditional judicial system process.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, In the mainstream, it's a little different, but indigenous communities, they address all those issues because their judicial system is different from ours.
Okay.
So when it hit mainstream America, mainstream America deals with it or tries to incorporate it into their already existing system.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, it's kind of homogenized because you're dealing with a certain protocols that's already in place,
Mm-hmm.
you see, and it's not easy to do. So with the restorative model, because it is community owned
Mm-hmm.
and it's community based, it bypasses a lot of those mainstream judicial traditions, I would say.
Yes, yes. This is very, very unique.
It is
So-
unique and it works.
Does it?
Yeah, that's why
Could African Americans use something like this?
African Americans need to, as well as other communities, because of what we're dealing with. You know, disproportionate minority contact.
Right.
You know, where you have African American and Hispanic males are more likely to receive harsher sentences than their white counterparts.
Right.
You know, the same as disproportionate minority confinement. Our jail system has a higher ratio of African American and Hispanic males as opposed to their white counterparts. So we're looking at this model to be a alternative to what the judicial system would do in a case dealing with minority males, especially minority men.
All right. It definitely sounds different, and maybe it sounds workable. I got to look more into it.
Sure. Well, I know peace circles, which is one of the methodologies, because there's several. But peace circles are definitely the most effective.
Okay.
Because it puts everybody on an equal playing field. Whenever anyone is in that circle process, we're all treated equally. There's no hierarchy. There's no win or lose. You know, like we have in our traditional systems. You know,
Right.
and everybody is treated and viewed as human. And the circle process is not about me fixing you. It's about how I see you.
Right.
You know, how I see this person who offended me.
Yeah.
You see, so it's a much different process.
Well, it sounds much cheaper than the American judicial system.
Well, it is definitely much cheaper. You know.
Well, that's one thing. What is your title in regards to the McCarley Gardens Fruit Belt
Well,
conflict? What is your title?
I founded the Fruit Belt McCarley Garden Housing Task Force.
Right.
And that came out of a cry in the community because they did not, they weren't getting the help from the leaders as far as addressing their issues. So after 2 years of being bombarded with phone calls and asking for help, I decided to found this organization.
And when was this? When did you find the organization?
Oh, this was in February 2012.
Okay.
You know, that I founded this organization.
All right.
And that is to address the cries of the community, basically. And pretty much bringing both neighborhoods together, you know, to work on those common issues.
Yeah. What do you think was the primary complaint that you were getting?
Well, number one, people did not know what was happening to them.
Yeah.
In essence, they didn't know what was going on in the community. They weren't getting any answers, and they wanted to know. And then two, they want to fight for their homes. They want to stay where they are. You know, not just the people in the Fruit Belt, the homeowners who were being bullied, you know, at a certain point to surrender their properties for like $5,000. But also McCarley Gardens. You know, I've met many of the tenants, and they want to stay where they are. You know, they like it. It's clean. It's safe. It's in a locale which makes it easy for many who are vehically challenged to be able to get to different places, you know, without a problem. And they love raising their family there. I know people who've been there 30, 40 years, you know, and then even some that's moved in when they were first built, and that's their home, you see. So for them, and they feel as though that they've been devalued, you know, because they're tenants. And basically they were told that, well, you know, they have no rights.
Sure.
You see, and for this medical corridor expansion to say, okay, well, this is prime property and we can do a lot with this, you know, we'll just relocate these people and think nothing of it, is problematic because you're talking about people's lives.
Yeah. See, for those of you who don't know, back around 2010, the Reverend Michael Chapman sold the McCarley Gardens to UB for $15 million.
Actually, correction. He hasn't sold it.
Well, I'm sorry, it's in the process, though.
They're trying.
They're trying. Right.
They're trying.
You're right. It's not finalized,
No.
but that's when he made his first pitch at it, and that's where the whole thing stems.
Sure.
Much.
Well, originally, when he was installed as the pastor of St. John's, he went to Kalida wanting to sell McCarley Gardens. We were able to stop that as the Fruit Belt leaders, because at the time I was with United Neighborhoods, okay? And the tenants of McCarley had no idea what was going on. But we were able to stop that because we made it known to the board of directors of the medical corridor that we were against the sale. And basically they backed out of it. So Reverend Chapman, then he went to UB, you know, with an original asking price of $35 million. Somehow they negotiated it down to 15, but UB really jumped on board with this, even with community opposition. They really want to go forward with this, but there's too many problems that they're having right now trying to get this sale through. So we're hopeful that bringing awareness to what they're doing, and then also the issues that they're having as far as placement, because they don't have a relocation plan for the residents. We're hoping that UB will back out of this.
It would be nice.
Staff or whatever.
Yeah.
Workers are parking.
And that's always been the case. You know, that's why you have the 198 and the 33. This is for people who live out in the suburbs, but they want to come to Buffalo to work.
Well, that was one of the right, because they want to move them back into the city too.
Yeah.
You know, and again, all of these people need places to live.
Right.
Where are you going to put them? You see, because the campus itself, right now the dividing line is Michigan Avenue, but see, years ago, representatives from the medical campus said that they weren't going to come past Michigan. But guess what? We have High Point. That's on the other side of Michigan. That's right in our neighborhood.
Right.
And they made a promise they weren't going to do that, but they did it. Just like they were saying that, you know, they're not into development. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They were saying that, you know, because our three main issues is not just gentrification, but eminent domain and land banking.
Right.
You know, one of the major problems that we have with all of this development is that they're tearing down historical structures in our neighborhood. They're tearing down perfectly good structures and homes just to put up, I call them these matchbox houses that's only designed to last 20 years.
Right.
You see, so they're really just trying to level us out, and that's problematic.
Yeah, I go along with that. I go along with that. Tell us about this issue regarding the block club, your block club, asking the city to enforce the memorandum of sale, even though you said memorandum of moratorium of sale.
Well, that's really what it is, moratorium of sale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this is another Jerry Springer show, I would say. It is another Jerry Springer show. Oh, yeah. I fell into a situation where, because I moved into the Fruit Belt because that's where my pastor put me. And
what pastor was that?
Well, I don't want his name on it.
Okay. Oh, I see.
I'm trying to, you know, let that die.
Oh.
So at any rate, he moved me into a single 4-bedroom home. Nice street, nice neighborhood, Fruit Belt, and I've been there 12 years. And he hired a management company back in, I believe it was July 2011, to manage his properties. Well, unfortunately, the former managers neglected some of the responsibilities with the property, and it ended up in the October auction. Well, the current manager worked out something with as he claims, an existing client and actually purchased my home for $2,100. Okay.
Okay.
So he refused to tell me who owned the property, and he just said it was some people from out of state, yada yada yada. So at any rate, last September he broke relationships with the owner.
Okay.
And got a new management company. But in the meantime, since ownership changed hands, all maintenance work stopped. Now, my house is also connected to another single unit home. We're on the same parcel of land.
Yeah.
And that house has been vacant for 4 years. They haven't touched that. So at any rate, I decided that I was going to address this issue with the current manager, and I told him point blank that I was not going to give them any more rent money if they weren't going to do even the smallest, take care of the property, maintain it, or something simple as fix the handle on my toilet. They won't do that. And so come to find out that I got a bill from the water company. And it was in a whole nother LLC, you know, a whole nother name, which kind of sent off the alarm. So I started an investigation. I started looking into some of their other properties. I went to visit some of the tenants, and they were having the same problems that I'm having. So I withheld rent. But it was interesting because what set me off was the fact that they purchased 2 single-unit homes, 4 bedrooms each, for $2,100. Blatantly ignored the property, and now they're trying to flip it for $39,900. Yes, right. And the cities had to cut the grass around the vacant unit, you know, this summer and last summer. So in my investigative work, I noticed that there was something real shady going on. Yeah. So I'm working right now with the city inspectors, and they've been excellent as far as responding to this immediately. Yeah. But the moratorium of sale works like this, that when you purchase a property off the city's NREM, the city auction, once the deed transfers, you have 30 days to satisfy any of the violations. And they neglected to do that. I'm not sure what the consequences are. If you fail or if you violate the agreement, we're going to find out. But as our block club, because the vacant unit has caused so many problems as far as vandalisms and, you know, things of that nature, that, and we've really been trying to get our hands on that property for 3 years, you know, because they were built in 1920. Okay, sound structures, and the longer they're neglected, eventually they're going to end up like a lot of properties in the Fruit Belt, which is demo worthy. So the whole purpose of that moratorium or memorandum was to have the city to enforce that agreement. You know, so anyway, we did manage to get that in court. However, there are other properties, like I said, at least 12 so far that I can trace down, where the problems are occurring, you know, in the same way. Yeah. You see, so we're just demanding that the city address this, because they're trying to flip all their properties, and these people are from Israel. Okay.
But they work for this this other individual you're talking about, this officer or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened is that now Change Equities LLC, they're the ones who they originally owned 18 properties. They purchased 18 properties in October 2011. Okay. 2 of them were from the city auction. The other 16 they bought from Nesco Group LLC, which Officer Smith is behind that LLC. So they purchased 16 properties from him. And they're spread throughout the east side neighborhoods. And I think one is in Lovejoy, or maybe a few of them are in Lovejoy, you know, but that's still like in a predominantly black community. Right. And so I believe, we're not exactly sure yet, so I don't really want to say, but we believe that they're one of his clients, that Change Equities LLC is one of his clients, and that he facilitated the sale. Now, they purchased 16 properties from him for $200,000. They bought another property on Genesee Street for $16,000, and again, they bought my house along with the vacant unit for $2,100 off the NREM, and he facilitated those sales. You see, but at the same time, once the ownership transferred, at least with my house, all maintenance work stopped. You know, with some of the other properties, I'm discovering that they've been vacant for a little while, a couple years maybe. They're renting properties on Craigslist, so there are some tenants that moved in like 3 months ago. June. And
so you're saying your house that you live in now?
In 12 years. Yeah, I've been in
12 years. And you're renting this?
Yes.
And under your nose, somebody sold it for $2,100?
Yes, because at that time, the October auction was at the beginning of the month. It was from the 2nd to the 5th. Normally they have it towards the end. Yeah. So I just missed it. And yeah, it was under my nose, because that's one of the problems with the NREM. You know, properties that are occupied by tenants, they don't have the right to know any of this stuff. I mean, you don't have to disclose it. An owner does not have to disclose anything that's going on with their properties, even if they're selling it. They don't have to tell them that there's liens on a property. They don't have to tell them anything. You know, and so a person can come in and purchase a property not knowing that they're having all these problems. If it's in housing court, they don't have to tell them that either. You see, but tenants, again, are victimized by this process of the NREM. So we're hoping that the laws will change in order to protect the residents of the city from this kind of stuff. Because even with these owners, and just like with me, they don't want to deal with me as far as purchasing the property. They don't. And I'm not the only tenant that they refuse to work with. You know.
So what's going to be your plan in the immediate term?
Well, and that is to continue with the investigation. It's opening up nicely. We got the Partnership for the Public Good involved, and they're based out of Cornell University. My attorney is the executive director of the Western New York Law Center, but he's not just my attorney. He's also the attorney that has availed himself to represent the other tenants. We have the city inspections that's working diligently with this. The Buffalo News is doing a phenomenal job in their investigation of this. You know, so we have definitely caught the attention of the city with this. And then also on the 26th of September, I'll confirm that date, the Common Council is holding a special hearing on flipping, which we will be testifying to.
Good. Well, we don't have a lot of time left. But I want our watchers, our viewers to know how to get in touch with you. On the internet or whatever the case may be.
They could send me an email. My email address is restorative_justice@yahoo.com. RESTORATIVE_justice@yahoo.com. They can reach me that way.
Okay. And I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I've been trying to get you a question.
I know. I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, you know, finally. And you definitely have a lot of issues on the table that you're fighting.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully we can get some more support for you regarding that, as far as, because more people need to be made known of these issues, you know, and, you know, one firebrand is not enough.
That's true. But then also,
100.
Right, sure. But then also I just want people to know that if they're facing some of these issues, they're not alone. You know, they're definitely not alone. I'll give them my cell number too, for those people who don't Yahoo. It's 716-390-5705, because there are so many people out there that need a voice and don't have one.
Okay. I got you. Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. My name is Chris Stevenson. Be safe this week. Make sure you get in touch with me also. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. For both of them, all you have to do is hit .blank009. You can Google those. I have another show on the internet called 3600 Seconds. That's on Twitter also, @3600 Seconds News. And of course, this show here, Policy and Prejudice, you check out all the shows, The Cipher, Sports Update with Pat Freeman, clbTV, you can Google that. That's the whole page, Curtis Lee Black Television. Have a safe week.